Declare our meeting open. Our karakia. Te māgai mga ane hera pono e te tokoturi tepe kia ta tūmau na koutou ki mai ki tēnei whakamaimiti o mātou. E tātari ngā kupu katoa e whakapua kina i roti tō koutou korori atanga. Ko tarek te timatanga rā me te whakaotinga mai o mātou e tumana kuna i roti tō koutou korori atanga. Tēnā mākua nu ki te māgai hei tau toko mai ai anei a hakane ai te matua te tangata wairua tapu mga ane hera pono me te mā. Nei rā hoki mātou te whānau, te kaunahira e pānei. Tino e atu ki a koe, ke homai atu ki te ora te kahata māramatanga i rungi a mātou i tēnei atu. E nei mātou ke tino e atu ki a koe, ai ke whakatoangia mai hui te hātō wairua tapu i roti te kaupapa o tēnei rā. Tēnā whakaungia mātou i roti tā koutou aro hanoa, pai here here te anō mātou ki te rangi māria rā i ngā wākatoa. Mākua anu ki te māngai hei tau toko mai. Ai anei a ākene ai. We have our guitarist somewhere. Your name is? Jeriel. This is Jeriel, everybody. And we've borrowed her this morning and she's doing extremely well. She's very nervous like, but it doesn't matter, eh, Jeriel?
No, that's right.
So if you come and stand by me and we'll give it heaps, shall we? Good, good. Here we go. Kororia ki te atua ki ronga rawa e mangarongo ki runga i te matawa te whenua e whakaro paringa tanga tākanoa e whakaro paringa tanga tākanoa kia tātou katoa e ata whai o tō tātou ariki karaiti me te aroha o te atua me te vivinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu a ke tonu atu Thank you, sir. A kātira ai tuake nei ki te mihi atu kia tata. Tika tonu me mihi atu ki o tātou tini matau. A tērā o tātou rangatira, J.B. Smith. Rātou katoa i hinga mai nā. I hinga mai nā i rungi wā tātou marae maha. Tēnei ka tangi atu kia rātou. Me te tangi hote hari atu koutou. Hai, ki te hoko ki tanga o tahunga wairua. Ki te kāpuni tanga o rātou mā. Me te kōrero, moi mai rā, moi mai rā, moi mai rā. Ko ki mai rā kia tātou, e takatū nei huki ngā kaupapa kei muki a mātou. Koutou ngā kanuhi marae, koutou ngā kanuhi o hāpuri Māori. Koutou e ngā api hā o tēnei o tātou kaunihera. A huri mai rā kia koe e te rangatira, Kirsten. Hei te mihi atu kia koe. A kia koe hoki je. Hei te mihi atu kia koe anu. Reire kia tāta kua whakatau mai. Ki Ta hāpai tēnei o tātou kaupapa kei muhi a mātou. E nei te mihi atu kia koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, a kāti mai tēnā hoki tātou katoa. You're welcome to come in. Ara mai. Ara mai. Our whanaungatanga. Nera. Starting from the table, it's the top there. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can we just introduce ourselves and who we represent around the table? E mohi o mai. Ki tā.
O kia ora tātou, tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou katoa. Ko Coralie Thompson taku ingoa, huri au no tānguil. Ko tēnei te wāhi hoki i tipu aku au. And I'm also a trustee for Maunga Hareru Tangitu Trust.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Tēnei te mihi atu nei kia koutou rā, te whānau o te rōpū ngā MΑNUKANUKA o te iwi. Koe whanarāti mataku ingoa, no mana ahuriri trust. Kia ora.
Morena, Richard McGrath. I'm one of the two only Kawa Tamatea ward councillors. That's me.
Tēnā koutou, I'm ko taku Carolyn Hunt. Hang on. I got that round the wrong way.
Tēnā no tātou. Tuatahi ki te mihi atu kia koe o tātou nei pāpā. Ai tautoko i o mihi kia rātou ngā mate wehi atu ki te wākainga. Ngā mihi me ki ana te whakatai a tātou te timatanga o tēnei hui. Nā mihi atu, mihi atu, mihi atu. Ko morihu te tomo tōku ingoa, te pauwhakarai o te kaunihira o ahuriri. Tēnā mihi atu kia koutou.
Kia ora, ko Louise Miller, toka ingoa, ko o te tumu whakarai o te Konahira a Napier. Louise Miller, Chief Executive of Napier City Council, Morena.
Tēnā tātou, tautoko ngā mihi kua mihi ki a koutou katoa. No ngā hapu o Ngāti Henepare, Ngāti Māhunga i tāwhao, no te marae o Wharerangi, ko tipene Kocho tōku ingoa. I'm tipene and I'm representing Wharerangi marae. Tēnā koutou.
Kia ora. Morena koutou, ko Kirsten White toko ingoa, ko kahika o Konahira te ahuriri. Kirsten Wise, Mayor of Napier.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Diane Tainoa Hau, no Tangoe o Marae. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
O ngā mihi mahana kia koutou katoa, ko Sally Crowner hau, he kai kaunihira hau o te kaunihira o ahuriri. Kia ora, I'm Sally Crown, I'm one of the Napier City Councillors.
Kia ora, Keith Price, Napier City Councillor.
Thank you. What's that say?
Oh, Joe?
Joseph.
Kia ora tātou. E te whakarite karakia, tēnā koe matua. Joe Tareha, ki te hapu o Ngāti Pārau, o Waiōhiki. Kia ora.
Kia tēnā koe, Joseph.
Kauti.
Kirsten, kia ia koe.
I know. Previous week, this week.
Chair announcement.
Chair, there's no announcements from myself today,
Pāpai.
other than to say welcome to everybody to our first MANUKANUKA IWI. Lovely to have you all here.
Apologies. So we're looking for a mover and a seconder, and the apologies we have at the moment are from Rose Hiha, the Deputy Mayor, Tiwana Aranui from Pukemoki Marae, and Maureen Box from Motio Marae. Are there any other apologies? No other apologies. Can we have a mover for those to receive those apologies? Thank you. And a seconder, please. Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Conflicts of interest. Do we have any conflicts of interest to register? Beautiful. I have no announcements as chairperson. It's just the opportunity of, I guess, of saying that it's great to have us all around the table today. I was just making the comment to Morihu a few minutes ago that we as the Marais don't get the opportunity to sit down together and face each other, eh? And no, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful, and I think it's great to have the PSGs here as well. And an opportunity for us all to meet and look at the way at the way our communities are. So that's all I want to say there. Do we have an announcement by the manager Morihu? Yeah.
Ka.
No announcements from Morihu. The confirmation of the minutes. There's none of those, I believe, is there? That's right. Cool. Yeah, the election to the deputy chair. Where does it come from? Hmm? Right. What's his name? Thank you, Andrew.
Good morning, all. I'm Andrew Springer, the manager of the governance team at the council. The first item we've got here is for the election of the deputy chair.
Andrew, can I ask you to get near the mic?
Oh. Sorry, is that better? Oh, that sounds very loud. So the first item is to elect the deputy chair, and under the terms of reference, the deputy chair must be elected from the elected members of the council. And it must be by consensus or majority vote. I leave it to the chair to call for nominations for the position of the deputy chair of this committee.
I call for nominations for the deputy chair, the position of deputy chair.
Tipene Kotchell.
Just through the chair, has to be an elected member, elected council member, as
sorry.
in terms of reference. Kia ora.
Sorry.
Would you like to nominate from the chair, perhaps, Piri? Have the manner of the chair making the nomination.
Oh, my goodness.
No pressure.
No pressure, eh? Deputy chair. Who are our likelihoods? I don't know. Oh, Madam Mayor, I think you're the perfect choice, eh?
Kia ora.
Goodness me. Yeah.
So we have the nomination of the mayor as deputy chair. So then we just need to have a vote on that then is required.
Happy to move and support that.
Thank you. Thank you, Sally. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Evelyn. All in favour?
Aye.
Whakaia tātou?
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor.
Nā mihi, kia ora.
Just like that, eh? What do we have?
I'll carry on if I may, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
because my name's down for the next one as well. So this item is the nomination of committee members for the council's standing committees and the audit and risk committee. So these members, the nominations will then be considered by the council to be appointed to those other committees. And then assuming the nominations are accepted, those members would then form part of those committees from 15 June onwards in the next round of meetings. And we're also looking for approval that the appointees would attend the relevant council workshops to have the opportunity to set early direction with elected members. And that's just to make sure that whoever is appointed to those other standing committees is able to participate properly and have full input into those committee meetings. As we've set out there in the background summary, the main reason for having these members on members from this committee on the other committees is to provide a te ao Māori lens on council's decision-making processes and ensuring opportunities for early and genuine feedback and to directly influence decision-making. So personally, I think it's quite important roles. So the members who are appointed will be participating in the final decision-making of council committees. Issues to note, as we've got there in paragraph 2.3, this will be an extra time commitment on top of the requirements of being a member of this committee. But, very valuable. Yes. So we need nominations for the 4 committees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 committees. We've recommended that the same 2 members be appointed to both the Future Napier Committee and the Sustainable Napier Committee, because those 2 meetings usually are back-to-back, so it'd be useful if the same 2 members sat on both of those. And similarly, the Prosperous Napier and People and Places Committee usually meet back-to-back, so we've recommended that the same 2 members would be on both of those. And then we only need 1 member for the Audit and Risk Committee. The Audit and Risk Committee is different in that it doesn't make decisions itself, it refers issues through, recommendations through to the council, and the council then makes decisions. But the first 4 all have power to make their own decisions. So all we need are some nominations.
Nominations for the first 2.
So, yeah, so for the first 2 are for the Future Napier Committee and the Sustainable Napier Committee.
Right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are those positions on the committee remunerated? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't see. Kia ora.
I wish to nominate Coralie Thompson for the Future Napier Committee.
For both?
For the Future Napier Committee and Sustainable Napier Committee.
Can you get the nomination?
Kia ora, through the chair, I'd like to nominate Tipani Cottrell.
We have 2 nominations. Any more? Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Evelyn.
Mr. Chair, can I just clarify that 3rd nomination, is that for the Future Napier and Sustainable, or are we moving on to Prosperous and People and Places? Because we need 2 for the first 2 and 2 for the second 2.
The Prosperous Napier Committee and Napier People and Places Committee.
Thank you.
Kia ora.
How are we looking now? 3?
So we've got 2 for the Future Napier and Sustainable, and we now have one for Prosperous Napier and People and Places. So it'd be great if we could get another nomination for the Prosperous Napier and People and Places committees.
Joe Tareha. Joe.
Joe Tareha.
Okay, thank you. And now we just need one nomination for the Audit and Risk Committee.
Kia ora, I'd like to nominate Diane.
How are we looking now?
We've got all the nominations we need there, so I think we can. I'm assuming, Carolyn, that we need a vote on that one, a resolution. Yep. Would it? Sorry, I'm just clarifying procedure here. Would we do one for each? All on the one resolution. Okay.
Oh, kia ora. I'd just like to nominate Joe Tareha for the Audit and Risk Committee.
Okay, we now have two nominations for the Audit and Risk Committee, Mr. Chair, and we only need one member for that.
Right. Well, perhaps we'll have the vote for that now,
Okay, so
for those two positions. For the audit.
so for the Audit and Risk, we have either of the two nominees there.
Joe's
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Cool.
Kia ora, Mr. Chair. I wish to decline the nomination for the Audit and Risk Committee. I take it as a very serious committee, and yeah, I'd like to decline because I want to see someone who's got a background in that area. Kia ora.
So we can all do it together now.
Yes. Thank you.
So Joe, any feedback from Joe's?
Yeah, kia ora. So, and kia ora for your nominations, Te Whānau. So I've been nominated for both Audit and Risk and People and Places and Prosperous. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's
Okay,
correct.
all right. Yeah. Kia ora, tautoko.
Thank you. Can we have a mover then for those positions?
Sorry, just for the chair, just want to get some clarity. How tō pātai anō, Joe? Because you've only been for Audit and Risk only, eh?
No.
For the three.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, for two of them. So can we have a mover then for those nominations? Thank you, Evelyn. Seconded? All in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Seconded was Sally. Kai ana tātou?
Aye.
Oh, lovely.
And we just have the following to note the appointments will apply from the 15 June meeting cycle, and to approve that appointees should attend the relevant council workshops. We just have those two resolutions.
Right. We're all good then? No?
I think we just need... Oh, so we've done that all as one? Okay. We're all done then.
Yes. Right, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Te reo Māori me ona tikana.
Kia ora tātou, tēnā koe te tiamana. To the Chair, just want to acknowledge the paper that we've putting through as the Te Reo Māori me ona tikana policy. Just to give some reference, it was actually put through Council last month, and so it's already been adopted through Council. However, we wanted to put it through NGΑ MΑNUKANUKA Te Iwi Māori Committee, just to give some life to it. So I would put it through, has already been read. Besides you, we've given you the booklet that we've got printed out in Te Reo Māori me Te Reo Pākehā, and it gives a lot of insight into the policy. It's an organic policy, so it's going to be ever growing, never changing, as our tikana and kawa does. And just wanted to put it through, and if there's any pātai. The main factor through this policy that we have action points which we have already have done, especially in the last 2 years, having karakia, kapahaka. So we are doing cultural capabilities within the council. However, you know, as everything is, it grows, it will grow bigger. And what this policy does is actually enhances Te Wakarangapu to really go forward with it. And working with all our other directorates closely, making sure that we empower them within the cultural capabilities with Te Ao Māori, and that what we do going forward as a council, especially with our partners, and making sure that our te reo me ona tikana is done with etiquette, and how we do it within council. So this gives us, really good.
Any questions?
No questions, but I just want to acknowledge the mahi that's gone into this document, and the work that's been put together. I think it's fantastic. First time I've seen anything like this being presented to anybody in any council. Thank you.
I actually would like to have one of the 318 that were part of the writing, Wiremu Katukwe. 2, then please. Wiremu was one of the writers within the policy here, and we had a team of 3 with Beverly to write this. So ngā mihi atu ki aia. So this issue, and our Wiremu here is from Ingarangi, but his passion is Te Ao Māori. So we're not working with each other, we're working with each other within this policy.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we need a vote?
We've got a recommendation here.
Can we have a mover for the recommendations that have been made, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Evelyn. Seconded, please.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favour, kai ana tātou?
Aye.
Recovery from Cyclone Gabrielle.
That's great.
Kia ora koutou. Richard Manuka. I'm the Recovery Program Manager for the Napier City Council. And it's a privilege to be able to take, I think, the locality plan ready through to the next, to the stage to be considered in the regional process today at this committee. And I would like to acknowledge the effort and time that the marae and PSGEs and those around us have helped us in partnership put together the locality plan under quite a difficult time pressure to get it done. So I know that there's a lot on everyone's plate, and so very grateful for your efforts to participate with us and yeah, to I think put something that hopefully captures everybody's interests for Ahuriri going forward with the recovery plan. So also we did send out that locality plan late yesterday. That's the best we could do, I'm afraid, under the circumstances. So apologies for that. Today, what we wanted to do was to kind of explain a little bit of the approach to, I guess, Cyclone Gabrielle and how the council's responding in that. I think the most important thing is that our community is still, you know, really suffering from the effects of the cyclone, and many are not in a mindset for recovery yet either. And as you know, it's almost like a technical term for us as the council, but actually it's about helping our people in whatever capacity to get back on their feet, and the city as well. But just going back, you know, when the cyclone Gabrielle hit the region, the Napier urban area was in a really dire state as a consequence. There was no power, no telecommunications. We couldn't communicate with our community. They couldn't communicate with each other. We were worried about food being in the supermarkets. We were worried about how much water we had left. And it was a really concerning time for everybody, that, you know, 70,000 people or more were in that position, and quite isolated from everything during that time. And in terms of the recovery process, we draw back on that time really for Ahuriri, and I think recovery and the concept of, you know, building back better more is actually making sure that we have doing our best so that we never put in that situation again. And I think the locality plan is a go to engage with central government eventually in the regional sense, but also to make sure that our communities and that's in the wider community beyond the Napier City Council boundary, have their concerns raised and be able to, you know, articulate that in that context. That first locality plan, the brief was very much to look out, you know, what we might do in 6 months' time. And I raised that because there is something that is a bit of a concern going forward, in that between, if that sort of time horizon is really repair and doesn't really address some of those big issues that we had around not having road access, no power, those sorts of things, and, you know, repairing it back where it was is not necessarily going to help us to be more resilient into the future. What it does do, though, is actually make sure that we can get some resources, hopefully, to be put into those places that immediately we need to do that. But going forward, there is another process in terms of the locality plan that is looking more future-based and in partnership with the MAORI and the PSGEs, we need to unbundle and make sure that, you know, those lifelines are actually, those lifelines like power and water and roading, that we actually put that forward on behalf of the community in terms of that next stage, and make sure that any rebuilding does not actually put more money, more good money after bad, if you know what I mean, in terms of, say, rebuilding the power station next to a river, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think the approach going forward, we are submitting the locality plan into into a regional. It will be a regional plan that will be considered by Matariki to go forward, and then we're also starting in terms of the recovery process on that next stage of locality plan 2 on these next ones, and really looking forward to working with you all on that process. Thank you.
Any kōrero for Richard?
Through the chair. Thank you, Richard. I wonder if you could just sort of talk us through the next steps, what's going to be happening over the balance of the year with regards to us here at Napier City Council and at a regional level with the recovery planning.
I'll do my best. It's still a little bit murky. I think the next steps will, so there is a recovery agency has been set up, and there is a regional, there's a board also set up to implement the recovery process. The board has been elected, as I understand it, and they will have a small engine room of a few employees to an executive office or a secretariat to deliver. And in terms of where we will be working with that agency to deliver sort of an integrated recovery for the region. The steps leading up to that is this first locality plan will be going into the regional part, and they'll be joined, so it'll be joined, I guess, with Hastings and Central Hawke's Bay and Wairoa and the regional council's locality plan, and all the marae and the whole lot will come together in a regional plan. That will be the first step. That's got that 6-month horizon, as I was saying. So there's probably that'll be the first indication for government in terms of some investment decisions coming through that. And then the second stage is a longer, we've got a bit more time for the second stage of the locality plan, which will go back through the same process and then bubble up into another, a regional one for that longer view. Sorry if that's a bit garbled. It is still a pretty messy process, and I'm hoping that some of those things will become clearer in that too, because there are some significant kind of, land use kind of issues that still need to be clarified as well, going through in terms of, where people rebuild and those sorts of things.
Richard, in terms of the power station, how many power stations do we have? Is it just the one main one, or how many do we have?
Well, it's a good question, because I think this is what we probably need to know as a community, is how does that, I don't even know if they're using the current power station, or they want to do that, or how it's working. And I think, you know, this is probably our next thing to do, is to make sure that we actually have assurance from Unison or whoever as to what they are doing, and show their hand to us, that we can be assured that either they're trying to advocate for more resilience in the network, or we've already got a good plan in place, that we know where those power stations and things are, and that they're located in a good place. So I'm hoping that will be part of that, you know, that stage 2, that we kind of start unbundling that and look at the regional council's flood protection program. How does that look for Ahuriri? How does the power stations work? How does the roading? How does that look from a more strategic level? So that if we get all that information from the actual people that are delivering it, it gives us assurance that we are doing our job, basically, to advocate for a resilient Napier going forward.
Thank you, Richard. And also, what are our views on having a solar farm in the future?
I'm not sure quite. In terms of what do you, in terms of kind of having alternative supply?
Yes.
Yeah. I have to say it's beyond, I don't have the expertise on how the solar farms plug into the network or how that all works, so I'll have to pass on giving an opinion on that one.
Okay, because that might help with comms as well.
Yeah.
Kia ora. In regards to the temporary housing, I see there that Napier City Council were involved in the civil defence hubs in the first few weeks of the cyclone. What role, if any, does Napier City Council play in and around supporting our whānau who are currently displaced? In addition, just so that I understand, the zoning, red zoning process, is that a process that's a part of the Napier City Council as well, or is that?
Yeah, it's another good question. So the red zoning is something that is has got a central government kind of a leading role, or they will certainly give the indications around that. And there have been some things coming from Grant Robertson about that recently, that they are looking to try and get some decisions around that. To be fair, how it all comes together and what the local council's role is in that is yet to be unclear. But we do feel we have a responsibility to our community to communicate what's going on. So that's certainly we're trying to position ourselves to at least make sure that that there is going to be kind of good communications with people that comes through the Napier City Council.
Ka pai. I am aware that there's a lot of whānau out there who are currently sitting in limbo, waiting to hear, and so as a result, their lives. So I guess in order to help them to be able to plan moving forward, yeah, I tautoko your kōrero there about keeping up with communication and giving them some indication around what that timeline looks like as soon as possible. Emergency housing is a real serious issue right now, and I think collaboratively with all of the organisations here, we need to think about how we can work together to ensure, especially with winter coming up, how our whānau are, have shelter. Yeah.
Really appreciate that comment because I think that's exactly right, and we need to keep, all the parts of the community that have been really affected firmly in the spotlight for us to make sure that we're looking after them. And I think that's it's not all about locality plans and all that sort of stuff. It's actually doing exactly what you're saying and making sure that they're okay through this process. So that's definitely a focus for us, and I know it's a focus for you as well. So I think going forward, that's something that we need to keep the conversation alive about because I think that those circumstances do change, and the information inevitably around those really hard decisions like, possible red zoning or what have you, will take longer than people want because there will be a need to get those exactly right. You can't just, you have to have that good information base and all those sort of things. So in the meantime, we need to make sure that we're wrapping around our community and looking after them.
So to have that sort of accurate picture of what's sitting out there in the community, and if we take, say, Tāngua as an example, do you have a stock take today of where Tāngua is at in terms of all those issues?
It's a work in progress, I think, with all the parts of the community. So we have had some community meetings, but the intention is basically to get down to the level where we are actually calling at least all those people that have been stickered in some form, so we know as best as possible if they want to share with us what the circumstances are and how they're going. Do you want to add to that?
Yes, as I understand it, Tāngua are working a bit with Hastings District Council as well. So all the locality plans from the territorial authorities will head up to the regional recovery agency, and there'll be one locality plan. So I understand they're working with us, but also with Hastings District Council. So I think there's more information in Hastings District Council's locality plan than in ours for Tāngua. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. It's rather confusing at times because a lot of our whānau live in Napier, but that's the way it is. Yeah, we do our best.
So just on that, it doesn't matter because if we're happy to receive it, it will come up into the regional plan anyway. So it doesn't matter. I don't think whatever works for you.
Joseph, did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, apologies. I was just going to say we are working with Hastings District Council closely together. So as Richard said, it doesn't matter really which way it goes, as long as it gets in there.
Thank you. E pātai ke a koe, Joseph?
Ai matua. Just to inform council, if they're not aware of it already, from the 1st of May, the emergency services will now be charging our whānau that's staying in emergency accommodation now. I think it's minimum $250 a week for staying in the hotels to subsidise that. Just to let you know that.
Yes, through the chair. That's MB, Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. Ministry of Social Development is keen to get contacts of people that are unable to pay that charge. So that will be passed on to Ministry for Social Development and they'll be assigned a caseworker and MSD will work through that process with them. We are quite clear, and we've said this to MB and so have MSD, that they don't want to get people pushed out of that temporary accommodation because they cannot afford to pay that charge. So we're understanding that as an issue, and if either come and talk to me or send that through to MSD and I can provide you those contacts if anyone can't afford to pay that charge.
So I think the whānau out there are unaware of this. So I think it'll be good for us to go back to them and to let them know that. Is there a pānui out there that we can sort of share with them, or we just have to come up with our own and just make sure that our communities are informed?
I can find something and share that with you.
Okay, thank you.
Communication, eh?
Yes, the letters went out last week, as I understand. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, earlier this week, as I understand it. Is that right, Joe? So we're playing a bit of catch up too.
That's correct. Yeah.
Is that the letters from the TAS accommodation service?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, like, just the pure fact that our whānau, who are already going through a lot, receive 7 days' notice that they're going to be charged an amount to stay in a room where they don't have adequate cooking facilities and or a freezer, it was quite disappointing. Nevertheless, it's good to see that we're all working together to push back, because we need to ensure that we support our whānau through this process. It's been hugely traumatic for a lot of people. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Paul.
Any other comment?
So, sorry, through the chair. So in the long term, these families who have been displaced and the ones with homes who have been red stickers, they have to move out of their own environment, their own homes, to go to stay in a hotel or something. So, and they have got their own lands, but if their homes are red stickered, what assistance are they given so that their lands do not become dormant, and how can they get back on their land? And obviously, are there any allowances for them to rebuild or to help establish themselves back on their own land, as opposed to going living in a hotel? The monies that they're spending on the hotels, that could be better used on their own whenua. So how can we help them in the long term that way?
Great questions, and those answers aren't there yet. So these are the sort of conversations that we need to make sure that we are having as the more information comes through from, I guess, around the process, around what they're going to do and the decision-making timeframes, through that. There just simply is not the level of clarity at the moment to be able to answer those kind of questions, which is why everybody is wanting more certainty on it. And I think that the hard thing will be to manage those expectations, because it's not going to be an overnight, kind of situation. It's but nevertheless, I think those concerns and those issues that you're raising, that's what we need to be able to sort of also to be able to get as much speed as possible in the process as well.
And just through the chair, just want to support what Richard was saying. We're also getting other regions coming in to give us their advice that have gone through tragedy themselves, i.e. the earthquake. We've got other councils coming in who have actually experienced what they have in the past, and to support the need for us to try and get as much information as fast as we can to understand what we need to do through insurances and so whatnot. So we are, Ngaita, who's come here recently, and other iwi as well, to come and give us some advice. Kia ora.
Richard, the whole question of insurance, is that also a part of your sort of central look at what's happening out there?
It probably hasn't been to date, because we've been focused on that, that locality plan, but that is definitely part of going forward, is to understand the insurance and where they they are positioning themselves as a kind of group, but also who's missing from, who doesn't have insurance, all of that, and how we look after people in that space in our community. So it'll be a big part of the conversation going forward.
With the onset of winter, is that going to have some sort of impact on the time frames you're setting for some of this stuff, Richard?
I think we know that that's going to be tough, winter, and we know that there's urgency. That's all I can say, that we know there's urgency, and what we would like is things to go as fast as possible, but that we have good engagement as well with those agencies that are doing this. So the big push for us, I think, is to make sure that we know what's going on and are able to pass that on to the community as soon as possible.
Any other comment?
Yeah, through the chair. Kia ora. Just want to acknowledge the engagement with mana whenua in this, knowing that it's got to be done fast and that engagement is important and quality engagement in fact. So just want to acknowledge that from our marae's perspective. That's been amazing, and looking through the locality plan, we can certainly see a lot of the things that from those discussions at the table with us that are actually in there, which is really, really important to us. So just want to acknowledge that with the short time frames, and acknowledge also that the short time frames mean the faster we do this, the faster we can get funding, support, all those kind of things, so that we can make some of these things in the locality plan actually take place. So just want to acknowledge the speed, but also the engagement with us. Being weekly, hard on whānau impacted, but also really important. So ngā mihi, kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, through the toiho. I just want to tautoko Tipine's kōrero there. The timeframes have been put on us. We're not choosing to adhere to them. I think that the points that have been raised today are really important, and I do see them in the locality plan. I do see those issues popping up, including the insurance issue. It is in there. And just touching or looping back to Tipine again around the engagement, I think this is the most collaborative document that I've seen come through council since I've been on it. Good. And I want to make sure that continues, and how it continues. And you know, I take my hat off to Mana Ahuriri for having their own locality plan included in this, and to Ngāti Pāro Trust as well. Thank you for your guys' mahi to make sure that your whānau's specific needs are captured at this stage. But you know, we get another bite at the cherry within 6 months. So making sure that the engagement continues and that whānau's voice features continuously through this process. It comes down to the marae, to the hapu, to people sitting around this table, advocating and making sure that whānau are engaged. So it's something that we certainly welcome, and yeah, we've got a good foundation here that we just need to build on. So kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you, Zoe. So, yes, the endorsements. Joseph, you got any from way over there? Do you have any comment?
No, nothing now.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you too for your input. And can we just have we need to show the endorse what's happening in terms of our recovery approach.
Yep.
And the locality plan, yes. Can we have a motion for that, Tim? A mover for that? please. Thank you, Evelyn. Seconder?
Yep.
All right. I love the kawhaka. Yeah. Great. Thank you. All in favour of endorsing both those, please?
Aye.
Thank you.
And through the chair, if before we move on, if I could just take a moment to acknowledge both all the work that our mana whenua and tangata whenua did in the response phase of the recovery. You were an absolutely vital part of caring for our whānau and community and stepped up and did what you needed to do. It was truly, truly spectacular. Thank you for all the work that you did. And just acknowledging Tepini, thank you for the time and the commitment again from our mana whenua and tangata whenua partners who did engage in this first stage of the recovery planning. The weekly meetings, as Tiffany said, it was a big time commitment and we truly appreciated, particularly when I know there's a lot of work going on with the recovery, that you were able to commit to that time. And as Councillor Crown has said, we do still have this next phase of recovery planning ahead of us. So looking forward to continuing to have you intricately involved in that. And I think the NGΑ MΑNUKANUKA o Te IWI committee is a really good mechanism for us to continue to build that relationship and ensure that you're involved at every step of our recovery planning going forward. So looking forward to continuing that conversation over the coming months. Ngā mihi.
Kia ora. Thank you. Good. So, what, before we get into the general business, can we just go to the maraes now and get a general update of where we're sitting? And can we start at the end there, please?
Marae, should I huatura te rākau kia Auntie Diane?
Lovely when they do that, eh?
Kia ora. Once again, Diana, Tanguil Marae. So with regards to Tanguil Marae, we've, so obviously two of our buildings were red stickered and our wharenui was orange stickered. We've since had all the silt around the buildings have all now been removed. And we are now waiting on our insurance people, a geotech and our structural engineer under the insurance people to come back and give us an update on those buildings, whether or not they are able to be rebuilt or if the red sticker can be downgraded. Today we have a big hui happening out there at 10 o'clock that Baden is leading with the Brooks Bay Recovery team that are visiting out there to have a look at our marae and visiting some, as well as Omahu, I think is part of that, and Waiheke. But just getting back to the marae, so all the silt has been removed. We're still not able to access the other two buildings. Our carving and tukutuku panels have now been removed from the wharenui. And we've just, in the last couple of days, been able to find a location for storage while we look at possibly repairing the marae. So our carvings and tukutuku panels, that's been a big thing for us in the last 2 months, just removing them, repairing the damage as best as we could in the environment that the mahi had to be done. So now we're looking forward to relocating those to a place in Ahuriri. And I suppose that's about it.
Kia ora.
Yeah. Kia ora.
Anu te aroha. You're next, Tiffany.
Tēnā tātou. our marae is, I suppose, brand new and untouched, so we're very fortunate, but had a bit of guilt, I suppose, and aroha to the other marae and community. Our marae is fine in terms of all the structures and roading and things like that. However, our community below our marae driveway, we're all flooded due to streams that join up together. So a lot of our time from our marae was supporting predominantly our whānau don't live at our marae or around our area in Puketapu, so mainly in town, so we're able to redeploy our whānau to help other marae. And also like the kuras like St. Joseph's and other places where there were hubs. We really would like to be a hub as our marae. We have a brand new building that fits every single code that it's in the Hastings district, so it ticks all the boxes to be a very safe place to bring people. We have the facilities, we have 90,000 litres of water, all those kind of things. So I guess a part of our recovery is to gear ourselves up with the support of councils and other entities to help us become a hub for the next event that no doubt will come in the near future. And we're able to support, hopefully, our community. Our marae is probably the closest building that could support the Upper Dartmoor, Apley Road, Puketitiri community all the way down to Puketapu. So we see ourselves as a place where we can support in the future. We just weren't quite ready this time and had a bit of flooding that stopped us actually getting to the marae. So we feel for the other marae, and all our resources sort of we directed to them instead of us, I suppose. But we also have whānau that have been impacted, and how we move forward as a resilient marae. Things like solar panels and all those things you're talking about could be really awesome in the future for us to be able to have power and support not only our whānau Māori but in our hapu, but the wider community of Puketapu all the way to Risington. So we would like to do that, and we're currently planning on those little things one by one and how we're going to be able to stand our marae up as a place for a hub in the future, alongside the other places like Puketapu School, who did a really, really good job in our community. We're very fortunate. Our marae is untouched, so we just want to get ready to help further in the future. So kia ora.
Joseph, kia koe Joseph.
Yeah, kia ora tātou. For us, relatively the same. So out of 100 dwellings, we had 85 yellow stickered. I think we had about 7 red stickered and about 8 or so white stickered. So the white stickered houses, our whānau have moved back into there. For the other 92 dwellings, and the dwellings include houses and also caravans and temporary accommodation. We're not too sure, so we're also going through the insurance process as well. And we are working with a diligent eye with our uninsured whānau, because they're probably our most vulnerable at the moment. I'm working very closely with those whānau. They're also a bit whakahihi, so they don't want everyone to know that they're uninsured, but hey, look, matewa, that's what it is. So we're looking at covering help from all sides, and if they have to move out, they have to move out. We could potentially be looking at some houses that need to be demolished. We're getting some building assessments over the next few weeks for our uninsured, so we'll have a clearer picture on what needs to happen with their homes at that time. Our efforts still are making sure that we can get the essentials up: water, electricity, and also our wharekai to complete our civil defence hub, which we'll be working very hard to achieve in the short time. And we're just going to continue with the work and work with our whānau hapu and marae as well. So kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you, Joseph. That's the marae then. Can we give you a maunga haruru tangitu?
No tāngui o marae mātou. But I was thinking, can we come have wānanga at your marae?
Yes, we've actually had whānau ask, can wānanga be held at our marae, and that's something that we're preparing ourselves for as well with tangihanga and those kind of things if they're not able to be at the marae that are not there. So we have to think about how we support in that way. So
Kia ora.
pānui atu kia Hillary, the bookings officer.
Ka pai.
Ana huriri.
Over here. Yeah, for mana ahuriri, we're privileged to be able to have representatives of the marae sit around the table. So we've got good intel on that area. We've got good representation that can take our whānau and to support our whānau up at the next level on the recovery positions with the matariki programs as well that's been set in place. So we've got our ear to the ground, plus we've got people on the ground who are working tightly with Te Tai Whenua and also with our health providers, with Te Kupuna Hauora and the other hauoras that go out there who have been prominent in supporting our whānau and our marae and have been out there, delivering kai and that, and it's ongoing. So we got our ear to the ground and we got our feelers out to be able to help where we can. For myself, I know I can support Tāngoio Marae, those ones where we've had 5 tangihana since this time over that period, but we've had to house them at home and they haven't been able to go out to the marae, which is sad. So some families have opted to cremate till the time that whenus or else. Those kind of things that the situations that our whānau are going to come up against, and likewise, I can't speak for Waiwahiki, but I know that they've had a few, or Mahu have, and our urupa have been in quite states, and also at a Petane Pā, a lot of work's gone into that. So, our dead are just as important as those who are living. As for Tāngoio Marae, we were still able to have our Anzac service, though it is like a bomb site, and the kaupapa was in the trenches, and how apt it was to be able to have that kōrero about that. But that didn't stop us from continuing. Our memorial place was still intact, well, cleared out, and we had enough few chairs around there. But we had a good amount of people that came out. We had a good turnout to there, but we have the whānau that live on the outskirts that are willing to open their homes so we can use them as a temporary marae, so to speak. And it just reflects upon our whakatauki, kei ngā, I heard the kaupapa, ko ngā pā, kei o rātou reke our pās on the heels of our feet. At the moment, that's where we're at. Though we could see our marae, and though it still looks wonderful, our wharenui still looks wonderful, we see beside it our place is a disaster. But our hearts are there. We couldn't go in, can't see around it, but we can continue on doing what we need to do. And there's the same kind of support that we need to do with all our marae that's around us within the Mana Ahuriri district. And that's who we are, and that's what we are about. So the work is still continuing on right up to the political arena. So, and with the support of our councils, which has been great, both councils. But the involvement that we have with Napier City Council is great, so thank you for that too. You're more on the ground, you're more closer to us, though we come under the district of Hastings. Kia ora tātou.
Richard, any comment, Richard?
No, nothing today. Although I probably should, and we've just gone through as a city, as a region, a huge event. And we sit back and we think about Hawke's Bay and we look back to probably 1931, and then we had Cyclone Bowler, and everyone's going, Cyclone Bowler, this is way bigger. But what I'd really like to say is how many people in our community from everywhere just stepped up and got stuff done. And I'd like to say our council staff as well. We had an opportunity to see and help them do their thing. And just members of the community just stepped up and said, how can I help? And that makes it a great city for us all to live in. Someone said to me, why would you want to be a councillor when this is happening? I said, this is exactly why I want to be a councillor. because we're full of good people. So we're only at the start of a journey, as we've heard today, but we'll get there. We'll get there working together like we are today.
Thank you. Chief Executive. Any comment? No? Sally?
I've said my bit. Kia ora.
Thank you. Please.
I'll probably reiterate what Richard has said, but I think in our recovery we want to be ambitious and not settle for second. We should get what we can to we're not allowed to say betterment, but there's another word. But don't be second, be ambitious.
Right. I like the collaborative approach. You know, it may not be all that tidy, there's some missing today, and that's okay. That's okay, because I'm sure they'll get some heavier tasks to deal with outside of here today. But I just like the fact that we've taken the opportunity to collaborate, and the whole mahi-tahi thing is, working together thing is, for me, is the only way to deal with it. Hey, Nira, any other further comment before we close? Silence is golden, eh? Okay. I'm going to call on Morihu to close our hui today. Thank you, Morihu.
Tuatahi ki te mihi atu kia tātou. Tēnā koutou kia okunui kia korahi. Waku kaimahi, ahara mai rai o tā tātanei hui te tātanei. Tō tātanei tumu whakarai. Tēnā koe Louise. E hara mai rā koe, te kaunihira o kaipara. Ka hara mai ki te ao nui, ki te ao roa, ki te ao tāhua. I'll just say that you came from the council of Kaipara, but you've come to the world of beautifulness, even after a cyclone. Because it's about the people. Hoi no tātou, ngā mihi atu kia koe tātou te pāpā, te tiamana, e te kahika. Kirsten, hoi no. Tō tātanei karakia whakamutunga o te kaunihira. We have a karakia for our kaunihira that we all like to do. Toruwha, kia tau, rangi Māori, i runga i ngā iwi katoa ahuriri. Kia piki te ora, te kaha, me te māramatanga i ngā wā katoa, tihei, mauri ora. Kia ora tātou.
And thank you to you.